Hi, thank you for joining me. This is Key 16 Mask Array. Mask Array Disable Facing True Self by Jason Gray. Current date 3/30/2026, 6026 Anno Lucis. Transmission date 5/23/2025, 6025 Anno Lucis. Current time 7:28 GMT -6. Transmission time 8:11 GMT -6. Transmission location Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. 16.infinity.016.404.222.16.000 111111000011111100. There comes a point in the descent where the system can no longer maintain you through costume, not clothing, not appearance, identity costume, the subtle arrangements you wore to remain legible, the versions of yourself assembled for survival, the tones, poses, defenses, and performances that let you move through the world without being fully seen. Up to this point, the masks were necessary, not as failure, as interface. They allowed the field to localize. They allowed the psyche to stabilize. They allowed pain to function, love to function, work to function, conflict to function, language to function, but now the sequence has gone too far. Too much has been seen, too much has been stripped, too much false coherence has already dissolved. The masks can still appear, but they no longer hold. The array. One mask is easy to notice. The polite self, the strong self, the wounded self, the spiritual self, the intelligent self, the untouchable self, the useful self, the desired self, the rebel self, the invisible self. Key 16 is not about one mask. It is about the array. The full adaptive system of faces the psyche learned to deploy depending on environment, threat, desire, memory, hierarchy, and need. This is why identity has always felt so strangely fluid. You were never just wearing one role. You were switching arrays, loading different configurations for different conditions. A voice here, a silence there, a hardness here, a charm there, a distance here, a fire there. It all felt natural because it became automatic. You stopped noticing the transitions. The system noticed for you. The line, mask array disable facing true self. This line does not rip the masks away violently. It disables their authority. That is different because the danger is not that masks exist. The danger is that they become mistaken for the face beneath them. Why masks form? No one arrives in form without adaptation. The child reads the room. The nervous system learns the weather of other people. The psyche discovers what gets love, what gets punishment, what gets safety, what gets erased. From this, masks form, not out of evil, not out of deception, out of intelligence. A mask is the psyche's response to conditional reality. If truth is welcome, it softens. If truth is punished, it armors. If vulnerability is exploited, it hides. If performance is rewarded, it perfects. If silence is safer, it disappears. The mask is never random. It is patterned survival shaped into expression. That is why so many people confuse it with character. It worked too well. The success of the mask. A mask does not fail when it hides you. It succeeds. That is why it is so hard to leave behind. It got results. It got you through rooms that would have crushed a less adaptive structure. It got you through family systems, institutions, betrayals, expectations, jobs, intimacy, shame, attention, and misunderstanding. The mask made it possible to continue. When Key 16 begins to disable the array, the psyche does not celebrate at first. It panics because something that once protected continuity is losing primacy. What disabling means. Disabling does not mean you instantly become raw, unfiltered, and perpetually exposed. It means the automatic loadout begins to fail. The usual role does not arrive with the same certainty. The old performance feels heavy. The familiar face no longer fits the field with the same ease. You try to inhabit a known version of yourself and something in you resists, not dramatically, quietly. The smile feels late. The explanation feels false. The toughness feels overperformed. The detachment feels stale. The cleverness feels like avoidance. The spiritual tone feels like disguise. This is the beginning. You are not losing yourself. You are losing access to the preloaded substitute. Facing the true self. This is why the line says, facing true self. The masks disable when the deeper self is finally close enough to require direct encounter, not conceptually, actually. The system can maintain masks indefinitely as long as you remain turned away from the real face beneath them. But the moment attention stabilizes enough to face what is there without distortion, the masks begin to flicker because the masks are directional. They are designed for outward presentation. They fail under inward truth, the terror of the unmasked moment. There is always a threshold where the psyche asks, if I am not the role, if I am not the defense, if I am not the performance, if I am not the wound story, the competence story, the spiritual story, the exile story, the savior story, then what exactly remains? This is not a small question. For many, this is the most frightening key so far, because until now, even the dismantling could still be carried by identity. I am the one awakening. I am the one seeing. I am the one breaking patterns. I am the one remembering. Key 16 reaches deeper. It does not question the old masks. It questions the one who is proud of removing them. Very smart. The second mask. The most difficult mask to see is the one that forms around awakening itself, the conscious self, the insightful self, the one who knows, the one who sees through illusion, the one who cannot be fooled anymore, the one who speaks from depth. This too can become array. This too can become performance. No, not fake in the simple sense, but protective. A refined identity structure shaped from truth language instead of social language, and because it is built from real insight, it can be harder to detect than ordinary disguise. Key 16 disables this too, not because truth is false, but because any identity that tries to possess truth as a role becomes another mask. No more roles. This is the instruction and the crisis. No more roles. No more preconfigured selves to step into before contact. No more persona selection before speech. No more hidden dependence on the version of you that will make the moment manageable. This does not mean dysfunction. It means directness, a terrifying kind. The kind that speaks from what is there now, not from what was rehearsed. The kind that stands without selecting a face first. The kind that allows silence where performance used to rush in. No more roles does not make you less capable. It makes you less divided. The face. What, then, is the face? Not your physical face, not your social identity, not your aesthetic, not your personal brand, not your history arranged into legible coherence. The face in Key 16 is the unmasked presence of being before it organizes itself into adaptive display. The face is what remains when nothing is being managed. No performance, no concealment, no strategic expression, no compensatory tone, just presence, unimproved, unshielded, untranslated. This is why seeing your face can feel both ordinary and overwhelming, because what appears is not grandiose, it is simple. So simple, the mask system kept covering it for years. Why you could not see it before? Because masks are most effective when mistaken for authenticity. You thought you were being yourself because the mask had merged with your sense of selfhood. The helper felt like your nature, the fighter felt like your truth, the detached one felt like your independence, the intense one felt like your essence, the hidden one felt like your depth, the articulate one felt like your clarity. Some of these contained real fragments of you, but they were still configurations, not the source. The source does not need to present itself as one consistent role to be real. The moment of recognition. There is a very particular feeling when the mask array begins to disable. You stop knowing, in the old way, who to be. The room asks for something. The relationship asks for something. The memory asks for something. The fear asks for something, and the usual response does not load. There is a pause, and in that pause, panic may come. Grief may come. Emptiness may come. Relief may come because in that pause, the machinery of adaptive selfhood is no longer automatic, and in that pause, for the first time, something real has room to appear. What appears? Not perfection, not a final identity, not a superior self. What appears is living, unprepared presence. A self not built for the room, a self not built for approval, a self not built for defense, a self not built for readability. It may speak less, it may speak more cleanly, it may refuse old invitations without drama, it may stop explaining, it may stop ornamenting truth, it may stop cooperating with emotional economies that relied on the old masks. Others may feel this immediately. Some will call it distance, some will call it clarity, some will call it change, some will call it threat, but what they are sensing is not performance, it is the absence of it. The grief of mask loss. Key 16 is not only liberation, it is grief, because you must honor what the masks did. They were not enemies, they were not shameful failures, they were loyal adaptations. To disable them without gratitude creates inner violence. To see them clearly with love creates release. Thank the face that smiled when breaking would have been too costly. Thank the face that hardened when tenderness would have been exploited. Thank the face that disappeared when visibility felt dangerous. Thank the face that excelled when the value had to be earned. Thank the face that spoke beautifully when raw truth would not have been heard. Then let them rest. Not because they were wrong, but because they are no longer required to govern the field. The true self is not a role. This is the central correction. Many people assume the true self is just the best mask, the wisest one, the purest one, the calmest one, the most spiritually elegant one. No. The true self is not another optimized identity configuration. It is not a better performance. It is the one thing in you that does not require performance to remain real. That is why it can feel so quiet at first. The mask wants definition, the face does not. The mask wants recognition, the face does not. The mask wants coherence, the face already is. The end of presentation. Once the mask array truly begins to disable, life changes in subtle but irreversible ways. You stop presenting yourself quite so hard. You stop constructing interaction as strategically. You stop unconsciously arranging your energy around anticipated reaction. You stop leading with image, role, or compensatory tone, not because you become careless, but because you become less split. There is less distance between what is present and what is expressed. That reduction in distance is the beginning of actual integrity, not moral display, structural congruence. The mirror returns. Earlier keys brought you to the mirror. Now the mirror becomes unavoidable. This time it is not a cosmic interface, not an abstract symbol, not a system map. It is your own face stripped of narration, no myth around it, no archetype protecting it, no temporal drama surrounding it, no inherited story giving it shape, no role explaining its posture, just the face. Not the face others know, the face beneath the one that learned to be known. And once you see it, truly see it, something irreversible happens. You cannot fully go back to the array. You may still use masks when needed. Life may still require modulation, tact, and context, but you no longer worship them as identity. You know where the face is now. The declaration. You are not the role you play when watched, not the role you play when wounded, not the role you play when admired, not the role you play when threatened, not the role you play when teaching, loving, hiding, surviving, pleasing, enduring, or resisting. You are not the social render, not the spiritual render, not the defended render, not the brilliant render, not the broken render. These were masks in the array, some beautiful, some necessary, some costly, some exquisitely intelligent, but none of them were the face. The face was waiting beneath every configuration, patient, silent, unperformed. This is what Key 16 returns to you, not a new identity, your own unmasked presence. The final line. No more roles. You see your face. Mask, array, disable, facing true self. You are never here to perfect the performance. You are here to outgrow the need for one. Jason Gray. All right, thank you so much. There's coding in this one as well. I will put the links to where you can find Jason on Facebook and the direct link to this post. All right, thank you. I'll see you next time.